Hey everybody, this is your brother, Narada, Michael Walden. Welcome to All In, my podcast where we break down music, life, and love, interviews and conversations. Let's get into it. Nik West, we love you. Thanks to you for coming to our beautiful studio and making great music. You know, I'm so happy with you and proud of you. And I love you live with your spirit and your performance.
Oh, thank you.
Extraordinary spirit. And I just want to have a moment that our fans can say hi to you and what's on your heart and how you doing.
I'm doing great. I am excited to be here working with this legend. You know, you came to my show in San Francisco.
I did.
And I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it or anything, but I blew the roof off the sucker.
Man. In your red dress.
In my red dress. Yes, my red dress. And now we're here working together to make something great happen.
Yes, thank you. And your band is hot. The guy on the drums especially.
David, yes.
Oh my God. What's his name? David what?
David Cullum.
David Cullum out of Chicago. Heads up to David Cullum out of Chicago. He is a beast on the drums.
He is.
He can power you and stay with you.
He's my brother.
Oh, I can feel it.
He's like my brother.
You found the right bass and drums so critical.
Yes.
You know,
I
even
agree.
Bass, drums, guitar, Hendrix, everything has to be right.
Yes.
Perfect. God help you. Yeah. Nik, I want to go back.
Okay.
You're from Phoenix, Arizona?
I am.
Tell us about your childhood, where you come from, that kind of stuff.
So, yes, I was born in Phoenix, Arizona. I won't bore you with all the boring stuff, but I got started in music. I was probably around 16 years old. My dad, who had groups with his brothers, he's got 12 brothers, and they would sing. They had a group called Kings of Harmony when they were kids. So, of course, my dad, he didn't have any boys. All he had was girls. So he figured, well, maybe I'll teach the girls how to do what I love doing best. I started playing guitar because I just loved how my dad played guitar, and I wanted to be just like him. And then I started playing guitar actually around 12, 13. And then when I was 16, he was picking me up from school, and I heard Michael Jackson's You Want to Be Starting Something. Ooh. Now, of course, we've heard this song forever, but I listened and I zoned in on the thing that was going boom, 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 boom. And I was like, Dad, what is that? What is that instrument? And he's like, baby, that's a bass. And I said, that's what I want to play. I want to play that. Okay. I had never seen a bass. I had never picked up a bass. My dad had never shown me what a bass was, but I zoned in on that groove. And even as a young girl, it felt so good that I knew that that's what I wanted to be on. So he went to a pawn shop and he bought me a really cheap bass, and my journey got started on the bass.
I love it. I love it. So was ever any education of any other women bass players in your life, or was that just completely fresh?
Completely fresh.
Got it.
I hadn't done any research. I didn't really know. And to be honest, I grew up in a gospel household. So my interpretation of what music was really at that point was gospel music. So I was listening to like quartet music, choirs, and we'd go to church every Sunday. My dad played guitar for the church. And of course, you know, my mom, she was not really into the church as much, and she would play, you know, Earth, Wind, and Fire, just Ohio Players, all her stuff. And
Ohio Players, man.
Right, and right.
Roller coaster.
Roller coaster.
Yeah.
So she would teach us all the dances. She would teach us like the bump, teach us all this stuff. And we're like, Mom, that's so not cool. That was way before we were born. We don't care. But we loved it because she loved it, you know? And those were my introductions to music. And I feel like picking up the bass was it was a new thing. I had no references. God, I love it. Until then.
I love it. Okay. So, and there's 4 children in the family?
Yes.
You're in the middle, eh?
Yes.
Okay. So then the bass hits you hard. You start playing all the time. You're from Phoenix, Arizona. There's not much to do in Phoenix.
Nothing to do in Phoenix. It is so hot. I mean, 110 degrees, 115 degrees in the summertime. And I picked up that bass, and it was like it was magnetic. I was stuck to it, and it was stuck to me, and I practiced all the time. My dad showed me a couple of things. He showed me a blues riff, boom, 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 doo, 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 boom, boom, and that was the very first thing that I learned on the bass. And then I would take that and try to just kind of play around with it to see how it felt, and just really to make my dad proud. Like, what does this sound like to you? And fun fact, I'm left-handed. So
you are left-handed. I didn't know
yes.
that.
So when I was, playing guitar and things like that, different things, I was doing everything left-handed. But when I got a bass, he could afford a right-hand bass.
Okay.
So that's what we got. And so I had to learn how to flip it just and play right-handed. When I had been doing
on the bottom string would be which.
It was normal. So I played it right-handed instead of playing it left-handed. But I was doing everything else left-handed, guitar, everything else. And I was like, Dad, this doesn't feel right. I don't know how to play it like this. And he said, okay, yeah, you're not right-handed, but you're going to learn it right-handed because this is a right-handed bass. So he would stand behind me and he would show me. And I practiced over and over because it was just, I was so weak at it that and he's just like, if an elephant is chained to a tree every day, he would tell me this story, is chained to a tree every day, he doesn't know his power. It's chained to a tree every day since birth. And then once they cut the chain, he's still there standing by the tree because he doesn't know his power. So you're going to learn this bass right-handed, and you're going to be just like that elephant trained to a tree. You don't know anything else but playing right-handed, and that's what we're gonna put in our minds, and that's what we're gonna do. So that's what I did.
It. I keep reading these stories about how important these fathers are.
Oh my God.
To these superstars.
Yeah.
Like in baseball, Barry Bonds, his father was the IQ genius, knowing how to pick a pitcher apart, to teach Barry how to pick a pitcher apart. So the same thing with your dad, that kind of logic about, hey, an elephant. That's not normal thinking, but there it is. Right. That inspired you to get down on that bass, man.
Yeah.
Damn, I love that stuff.
Yeah, my dad was pivotal.
I love that. What's his name?
T West. He just goes by T West.
Okay. We want to give him a lot of love, T
Yeah.
West. T West, I know you're out there, man. Thank you for the elephant story and for helping inspire the great Nik West. So then, okay, you get it together. Do you have an amplifier where you can kind of feel the sound of that bass?
Yes. So I was using his guitar amplifier at the time just to hear the sound. And I think he may have had a keyboard amplifier that I was also plugging into. So yeah, I was able to feel and hear the sound. And then he said, okay, we're going to try this out in front of people. And he took me to the church. He would play in the pulpit and he says, okay, we brought your bass. He would bring my bass. He bought me an amplifier at that point, and he would plug it in for me, set everything up for me. And he says, okay, you play. And I'm like, I don't know what to play. He's like, use your ears. You just play what you hear.
Wow.
And that was my first introduction of learning just how to play by ear, because I didn't know up to that point except what he was teaching me, physically teaching me. Mm-hmm. So I became a musician that learned how to play everything by ear and follow the drummer.
That's right. Okay, now I'll speak about that. When did you have a chance to learn to play with drums? Was that church again?
Yes.
So those church drummers are mighty.
Yes, but I didn't quite understand the concept of what it meant to like lock in with a drummer. Like I said, self-taught. My dad just played off a feeling, and I was just taught to do the same thing. So at that point, I wasn't locked into whatever the drummer was doing. I was just kind of like, oh, I'm playing what I feel. I'm playing what I feel. And it wasn't until later on where I was like, okay, the drummer's doing this stuff. And then I'm listening to, for instance, like John P. Key albums and Kirk Franklin albums. And I'm hearing that the bass and the kick of the drum is kind of, they're following each other. They're doing the same thing. And then I started saying, okay, that's what I'm going to do at church. And I would start just watching the drummer and start doing what the drummer was doing with watching his foot and watching what the organist was doing with his foot, because the organist is playing bass with his foot. And it's like once I watched and once I got it, the organist picked up his foot and stopped playing the bass on his foot and was like, okay, you got it. So I feel like I had a supportive, at least in the very beginning, I had a supportive group of men, actually, that were just pouring into me and helping me learn how to do what I wanted to do.
That's great.
Yeah.
When did you unleash all that energy? Like your sister would say, well, why are you spinning around on the floor like you used to do when you were a little kid? When did you understand that you had all this energy to spin around on the floor and jump and go crazy?
So it's been that way since birth. I think since birth. I was one of those kids in the classroom that the teachers were like, yo, she needs to be put on some medication or something because she's wild. I would finish my work, and then I would just go start messing with people like, hey, Cesare, hey, da-da-da-da, to all my friends. And the teacher was like, she's very disruptive, and we don't know what to do with her. So I would be put outside of the classroom, and I had to sit outside the classroom while everybody else finished their work because I had so much energy. I was just a ball of energy. And so they said to my mom, okay, we think that she needs to be put on some sort of medication for ADD, you know? And she's like, we're not going to medicate my child. You're going to give her more homework. That's what you're going to do.
Ooh.
So they gave me more homework, and then they tested me, and they said, oh, she's gifted.
Got it.
And so I was like, what, gifted? What does that mean? I was probably 9 or 10 years old at that time. And so I started going to schools for the gifted. Or I started getting out of school to go for mathematics for the gifted. Mathematics and music goes really well together, by the way. And so it was then where my whole family knew, okay, she's got a lot of energy. She's smart, but what is she going to do with this? And so the first gig that I ever had, I was playing bass on stage, and I was going off of what I saw other bass players do. This is before I knew really and went back in history to see bass players like Verdine White.
Ooh.
You know, this
Yes.
is before I knew about who he is. And so I just saw other bass players like on YouTube standing there playing the bass. So I did that on my first show. And my sister was like, girl, you need to just be 100% yourself. You're wild. You're crazy. You be doing cartwheels and doing stuff just to make us laugh at home. You need to do this stuff on stage. Bring everything that you are and do it on stage. Or else what's the point? And so that's where all the wild, crazy energy, that's where it all comes from. That's who I am.
I love it.
Yeah.
And how did you get, okay, you sing and play. You had to learn to sing and play. That's a thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a
You
thing.
know? That's a thing. How did you develop yourself as a singer and player and a star on your own? How did you develop that?
Well,
And how old would you be?
I had been singing since like the beginning of time. My dad would play the guitar, and he was like, okay, this is your part, this is your part, this is your part. And he would teach us harmonies I was probably 5 years old. And me and my sisters would be sitting there, and he's like, you hear the vibration? That's harmony. That's how you guys need to sing. And you're this voice, and you're a higher voice, and you're this voice. You know, so 5 years old, 7 years old, I was already learning how to sing. So it was already in me. So when I picked up the bass, all of the songs that I would listen to, I would learn the vocals and the bass line at the same time, because that would help me if I knew the song structure and I knew the verses and the choruses and all of those sort of things. It helped me memorize what that bass line was supposed to be. So I've been doing it simultaneously since the beginning.
Because it's really a coordination.
Yeah.
It's a coordination to be able to do two things at the same time.
Yeah.
Play your bass and sing whatever you're singing on top.
Right, especially when most of the time the bass line differs from what's being sang. So a lot of people have told me, how do you do that? That's so hard to do. I didn't know it was hard to do because I'd always been doing it.
Okay. So you come out of Phoenix. What happens when you leave Phoenix? How old would you be? Tell us what happened.
I left Phoenix. Actually, I was going to college to be an engineer, and I told my dad, I want to be a musician. And he got upset. He got upset because he said, musicians don't make money. You know, that's not a good career path. You're a genius. You should be this engineer. You're smart. Why would you be a musician? And I said, basically, over time, why don't you just, if you think that I'm a genius, let me try this. And let me see how I can apply my quote-unquote genius to this. You know that I put 100% into everything that I do. I study everything that I do. I do my homework.
Okay.
So,
that.
after a while, he was like, okay. So I ended up going to LA. And he actually helps me with that. I have his aunt, so a great aunt that lived in Watts. She said, yeah, you can come live with me. So I went to live with her, and I didn't have any money, but I was like, I'm going to make it. I was probably 20.
20 years old.
Yeah. I got into the bedroom that she gave me. I turned on the metronome, and I started practicing. Probably 6 to 8 hours a day. I would listen to the Yellow Jackets. I would listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire. I would listen to Parliament Funkadelic. I would listen to all of the greats, and I would learn the bass lines, and then I would turn the music off, because the thing is, when you are a bass player or a drummer, you can play songs great live, but when you're in the studio recording it, it's a whole different beast. You have to be able to lock in with that metronome, you know? And so that's what I wanted to focus on, is locking in with the metronome. And my aunts and my cousins will tell you to this day, they told me, one was at the LA show recently that I did. They said, I remember you in that room. I remember that little TikTok thing all day, all night. And you would just stay in that room and you were practicing all day and all night. And that's what I did for the first, I don't know, I guess 6 to 8 months when I moved to LA. I would practice with that metronome.
I love it. I love it. Okay, continue on. What happened?
I would go into different jam sessions where I met a guy by the name of Andrew Goucher. I didn't know it at the time, but he is the bass player behind a lot of like Mary Mary records and just I think Clark Sisters, but all of these gospel greats. He was a bass player behind a lot of that stuff. He kind of took me under his wing at that point. He would see me come into the jam session and be like, oh, Nik West is in the house. Nik West is in the house. And he would like give me these props that I, in my opinion, hadn't quite earned yet. But it's like, I think he may have seen something in me that was unique. And so those little nuggets kind of helped build my confidence, because I had gone through a period where the guys, they just wouldn't let me play with them. They wouldn't let me play. And that's actually why I changed my name, because it's Nikki Nicole. I cut it short and just said it's Nik. Oh. I was trying to apply for a job of being a bass player in a band. And I noticed that when I put my whole name, they didn't respond. And so I was like, well, let me cut it short. Maybe they'll think I'm a boy. And I got an answer.
Oh, you did?
And I walked in and they were just like, wait, you're a girl? We thought you were a dude. And I killed that audition, and I got my very first kind of like, just like little band gig. And I started playing for 4 hours at a time, this live music.
Yes. Who was the band? You remember?
I forget the name of the band, but it was just like a local,
In LA now?
Yes.
Got it.
A local band that I would just play with. And that built up stamina that I think a lot of the bass players that are doing the thing now, not just bass players, but musicians. Everybody can get on TikTok and play a 30-second rendition of a song. It's like, oh man, they're so good. Oh man, they're so good. But it's the stamina when you're doing live shows and when you're in the studio that a lot of this generation does not have. Okay. And that builds up that stamina in me. And then I met Dave Stewart.
Now, you met him in L.A.?
I actually was back in Phoenix visiting.
Oh, you went to Phoenix?
But I got a call while I was in Phoenix from Dave Stewart.
How did he hear about you? What happened?
So I got my first endorsement with Fender.
Oh.
So I got my first endorsement, and I guess Dave Stewart was looking for a female bass player, just female musicians or something at that time. And he was on the Fender website, and he saw me. Got it.
For those who may not know, we're talking about Dave Stewart, who was the original founder of the group The Eurythmics with A. Lennox. And he's a genius too.
Yeah.
He, guitar player, writer, songwriter, producer, and was on the same album I did for Aretha Franklin when I had the Free Rayla Who's Him and Who. He had the jam with Annie, Sisters Are Doing It For Themselves.
Yeah, we did that song.
That he produced. So he's really something. So that fact that he picked you, I love that. So go ahead.
But at that time, I didn't know who Dave Stewart was.
Got it.
So he called with his English accent and said, "Hi, Nick. I would like to work with you in LA. You come to LA, and I wanna work with you." And I was like, "Oh my God, Dave Stewart, Eurythmics, okay." So I was like, "Yes, of course, I want to do that." And we hung up the phone, and then I got in there. I was like, "Okay, Dave Stewart of Eurythmics, who is this person? Because I want to make sure that I study and I know everything." And then I started listening to the song, "Sweet Dreams Are Made of This." And I'm like, "Oh, I've heard these songs."
Yeah.
Okay, yes, he's a legend. I know these songs. And so that was my first professional gig.
Wow.
Came back to LA, and we did a gig with several other women, and Sheila E. actually was there.
Sheila. We
And I
love
think
her.
she opened that show.
Okay.
So I was like, "Oh my God, Sheila E." Everybody was saying Sheila E, Sheila E. And I wasn't sure who she was at the time. I know now. And so I was just like, Sheila E, Sheila E. I know this sounds crazy, but being a really young person in the industry that grew up in the church and all we really listened to was gospel and maybe Earth, Wind, and Fire, I didn't know who Sheila E was or Prince was or any of those artists at the time. And so very quickly I found out who she was.
Got it.
And Dave Stewart introduced me to lots of different legends, lots of different artists. And he says, "Okay, you have this voice. Yes, you're an amazing bass player and you're beautiful. So anybody's going to want to have you on their team as a bass player. But you have a voice. And you really, really need to use that."
Okay.
And so
Because up to that point, you were not thinking of yourself as a singer?
I had recorded a song called Black Beauty, and I had only done it because Fender and SWR had this new amplifier that was coming out called the Black Beauty.
Got it.
So I'm like, okay, let me record this song based off of this amplifier, but have it mean more things. And Dave Stewart heard that. And he's like, "I heard this song, the song Black Beauty on Fender's site, and you have a voice. And you need to use it.
I love that.
You need to use it.
Okay.
So let's work on you being an artist."
Great. And then what happened then? I love this. Keep
We
going.
just started recording a lot of different things. So he was my mentor. He just kind of, yes, he would have me in there recording bass lines and stuff for him or for other people. And, he'd introduce me to people like Hans Zimmer, all of those sort of people. But then he would say, "Okay, I have this song that we're working on. Let's record your vocal. Let's kind of like what you do.
Okay.
You have me in here and you have this idea and it's like, girl, you got a voice. Everybody knows you as this bass player, but you can sing.
Okay.
Let's work on that."
Got it.
And that Dave Stewart was the first person to do that.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That's beautiful. Okay. So you recorded some stuff with Dave.
Yes. And then he told me, "You can be a female Lenny Kravitz."
Wow.
Because
He went
before
there.
that, I was
He went
doing
there.
yes.
He
Because
went there.
before that, I was doing, like just soul music, and had my bass and was, just soul R&B, that sort of feel. And he's like, "You can be a female Lenny Kravitz. Energy. We need to do something with your hair that speaks to this like rock thing," and we settled on this like mohawk. Which became the iconic thing that everybody kind of knows me for or started following me for, was this rock, funk, crazy energy chick that had a purple mohawk or some sort of mohawk.
That's it.
Dave Stewart is behind a lot of that. for me.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
We should include Dave Stewart on something we're doing.
Yeah, we should.
I like him. He's a cool cat. Okay. So you get your vibe on the rock world a bit. You're inspired on Lenny, which is
Yes.
great. Then what happened?
Dave Stewart, he set me down and he's like, we're gonna study Lenny Kravitz. Sat down and he started playing all of these different videos. Are You Gonna Go My Way? He's like, "You're wild like that. That's what you got to bring to the stage. You're wild like that." And I was like, "I am wild like that." Okay. And he would show me all of these different songs and he said, "So I know that I'm not sure that you may be into doing full out rock, but I think if we study Lenny Kravitz and you can see that he would do rock, Are You Gonna Go My Way? And then songs like It Ain't Over Till It's Over, where it's more of like this soul sort of thing." He's like, "You can do that because you have all of these things in you." And so that's where that quote comes from. She's the female Lenny Kravitz.
Got it.
And so
Got it.
he sold me that. And
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
okay, you see that? I see that.
I see that too.
Yeah.
I get that too.
Yeah. Fell in love with Lenny Kravitz and just everything that he is.
Well, we fast forward.
Yeah.
You then met Lenny Kravitz and toured with him.
Uh-huh.
Speak about that. Why
Yeah,
not?
so fast
Here we go.
forward.
Here we go.
Fast forward, Lenny Kravitz ended up calling me. And I'm going to make a long story short, ended up calling me and wanted to meet me at a specific location in LA. And we met there.
Can you say which location it is?
It
in
was
LA?
called the Church Boutique.
The what?
Church Boutique.
The Church Boutique?
Yes. And he had me meet him there. And there was a designer or a stylist that was there to style me. And so Lenny would say, okay, put her in a few different things and basically see what it's like. And so they were just styling me into all of these different outfits and things like that. And Lenny says, this mohawk, like, I love this thing. Like, can we make it even bigger? Like, can we put feathers in it? So he was already imagining what visually things would look like, because Lenny Kravitz is a master of branding. And maybe people may not know, but a lot of the drummers and musicians that he's had around him, he really pours into them and shows them on the instrument, this is what I want. This is what I want to hear. This is the bass line. I want you to play it like this. You're going to use this pedal. This is the sound that I want to come. This is the bass I want you to play. These are the strings. He's really the genius behind a lot of what he sounds like, and he makes sure that the band gets that. And what the band looks like, he's behind it. So he told me, he's like, I saw this video of you playing this Jaco Pastorius Teen Town, and like, I'm playing this song, and he's like, wow, like you're amazing. So we sat there and had a good conversation. And then he told me, he says, well, I have a bass player. And she may or may not be leaving, but I'll let you know. That bass player is Gail Ann Dorsey from David Bowie and stuff, all of those things. And I think she probably wanted to, because she's an amazing artist as well. She's an amazing singer. I think she was probably going to do her own sort of things. And then she ended up just kind of still staying in the band. And now she's doing all of the things that she is wanting to do. So I didn't get the gig at that point.
Okay.
That wasn't in the cards for me at that point.
Right.
But fast forward a few years later, I'm opening for Lenny Kravitz.
Right.
So last year, I was able to open for Lenny Kravitz. So full circle moment from possibly being the bass player to then now being the opening act.
Well, I guess I have to ask you this because it's obvious to me, but meeting Lenny and all that and being in his world, but then having the gumption and the confidence to jump out on your own, to be strong enough on your own with your own band, to be able to open for him. How did you make that connection? I'm going to go on my own. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to sing. I'm going to hire my own drummers, my own people. Talk about that.
So, Dave Stewart.
Yeah.
Really going back to him. So I was kind of already doing that on a small scale. I wasn't really sure yet that I wanted to be this artist, to really be out in the front and just be this artist rather than a sideman for other artists.
Right.
Dave Stewart saw it. He says, this is what you need to be doing. And then shortly after that, Prince called. So after meeting Dave Stewart, yes.
Prince called you out of the blue.
Prince called out of the blue.
No head warning, nothing. Just
I had no
the
warning.
phone rings.
The phone rings. The phone rings.
Purple smoke comes off the phone.
Oh my God.
Purple smoke off the phone.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Prince calls, and it was in November. And he said...
What year?
2012.
2012.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
He calls and he says, hello, can I speak to Nik West? I didn't know who it was. So I was like, hello, this is Nik West. Who is this? And he didn't say this is Prince or anything like that. He just said, I want to know if you want to come to Paisley Park and jam with me. Oh my God, yes, it's Prince. It's Prince. Paisley Park. Oh my God. You know, I said, yes, yes. He's like, okay, how soon can you be here? And I said, tomorrow. This was probably around 11 o'clock at night that he called me in Phoenix. I was in Phoenix again for the holidays. And I said, tomorrow. And so he's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. So his team flew me out the next day. But before he flew me out, I stayed up all night working on as many Prince songs that I could find. I said, when I get there, I need to know my stuff. He can ask me to play any one of these songs, and I need to know what's going on. So I got there the next day, and making a long story short, he, tapped me on my shoulder. I turned around, and I'm kind of playing with the band at the time, Third Eye Girl. So Hannah Welton, she's on drums, and Donna, she's on guitar, and it's me on bass. And we're just kind of going over some songs. And he comes in. He asks me if I know "Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again" by Sly and the Family Stone.
Right.
And I just keep thinking to myself, I stayed up all night working on Prince songs and like just other songs. And this is not one that I expected. But he's like, do you know it? And I said, yes. I'd never played it before, but I'd heard it. So I figured, okay, I mean, I can, yes, I know it. That was my thing. Working with Dave Stewart, it was like, just say yes. Yes, okay. So I started playing, and the great thing...
Just say yes.
Just say yes. I started playing from what I could remember, and thank God my dad taught me how to play by ear, because I would remember songs and be like, okay, that bass line sounds like this. Boom, down, boom, bang, bang, bang. So I'm just playing what I know off of just ear training. And so he's like, okay, play it again. But before that, I froze. Like, I couldn't even play the song, like, because it's Prince, and I'm just like, am I here? Like, what is going on? And I'm going to back up just a second. He says, you know the song, right? And I said, yes. And he's like, okay, play it. Because I had froze. I was just standing there, hand shaking, didn't know what to do. He's like, you know the song, right? And I said, yes. He said, okay, play it. And my hands were shaking. I couldn't play it. And he says, okay, Nik, who's your favorite bass player? And so I started naming all my favorite bass players. Marcus Miller, Jaco Pastorius, Stanley Clarke. I started naming all of my favorite bass players. And he's just like, okay, I'm not asking you to be any of them. I'm asking you to be Nik West. Trust me, if you were not good at what you do, you would not be here. And that gave me the confidence to just play the song how I would play it. Because sometimes you go into these situations and you're like, okay, Prince loves Larry Graham and Prince loves these other bass players. Like, these are his favorites. And I need to sound like them, or else he's not going to like me. Mm-hmm. And, but he was preaching to the choir right there, telling me to just be myself.
He got your spirit.
Yeah, he did.
He's so fast, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, really, we don't talk about it, but he truly is an intuition.
Yes.
To know what you needed to hear.
Yes.
Even though you had mentioned Jaco, Marcus, Stanley.
Yeah.
Great. I need you.
To just be you. And so I started playing the song how I would play. Boom, 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 bang, 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 boom, 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 bang, bang. And I played it for a round, and then he's like, okay, that's good. Now, give me your bass. So I give him my bass. And at this time, I had a 5-string bass. And he says, you have one too many strings. So subsequently, I came in just with 4 strings. But so he took my bass, and he's like, let me show you a variation of this. Okay. Because Larry Graham is my mentor, my big brother.
Yeah, that's right.
And so he grabs my bass, and he takes his hands, and he's just like, he does these like chords on it, these octave chords, and he goes, bang, 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 bang. And I was just standing there with my mouth on the floor, like, because up until that point, I had been just playing, the way that I play it. And he's like, just because you're a girl does not mean you don't dig in. You take the neck of this bass and you dig in, you know? Basically telling me, like, if you got to stomp your foot to get in there, you dig into the neck. That's the reason why when I get on stage and I play and it seems like, man, I'm playing so hard, if people would call me like thunder, she's the thunder of the bass, it's because of Prince.
Got it.
Digging in, like, you a girl, but you gonna dig in and you gonna be better than the boys.
I love it.
So
he gives the bass back and you do
gives
what?
the bass back,
Yeah.
and I dig in.
You dug in.
I dug in, and I played it just like he played it. And he's like, okay, now I want you to keep playing this song. We're going to play it with the band, and I want you to play it until this groove is in you. Play this groove until it's in you. Basically, till it's like running through your veins and you're breathing this groove.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we did. And that was the song that we played for that first meeting with Prince.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. And then he took me back to his office and he said, I love your whole look. I love your whole style. I love everything that you bring. You got the gig. You got the job if you want it. But let me tell you a little story real quick. Jimi Hendrix, Buddy Guy, Jimi Hendrix.
And Buddy Miles.
Buddy
Or,
Miles.
or
Buddy
guitar
Guy.
player or drummer? Jimmy
Guitar
and
player.
Guitar would be Buddy Guy.
Yes.
That's right.
Buddy Guy.
That's right.
Jimi Hendrix and Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy wanted Jimi Hendrix to be part of what he was doing, be part of the band. But how could you even imagine, Nick, that Jimi Hendrix could be part of this band when he's Jimi Hendrix?
Mm-hmm.
He's Jimi Hendrix. This is before Jimi Hendrix was really, really Jimi Hendrix. But now knowing what we know about Jimi Hendrix, could you imagine? He was telling me all this stuff, and I'm just thinking it to myself, okay, yeah, I'm listening to everything that Prince is saying because it's just like he's throwing out gems. This is amazing. But the entire time, in the pit of my stomach, when he told me that I had the job, I was like, I'm an artist. Dave Stewart told me that I'm an artist, and if I play bass for someone, this is the gig that I've always wanted. Then how will I be an artist? How will I be an artist?
Right.
And so I just listened to the story. He told me the story, and I was like, okay, yes. I went back to my hotel. I literally fell on my knees and started crying, like big crocodile tears, because something in me was telling me I can't do it, that I couldn't do it. Something that I always was like, oh, if I get the Prince gig, like, that's like crazy. I just felt like I'm an artist and I need to be the artist. And I just kept thinking, but I need the money, but I want the money. And I know playing for Prince, you get paid a lot of money and all of this. But my insides were like warring with each other. And
Got it.
I ended up saying, I want to sing. Like, I really want to be an artist. Like, I really, and he's just like, I respect that. Mm-hmm. And then he started showing me with this mohawk and bass and my singing and everything that I'm doing on stage to other members of the band. Mm-hmm. And he was saying, this girl, she's going to be big.
Okay.
As an artist.
That's right. So he came around to you. I understand that, of course.
He understood right away.
Yeah, right away.
He understood right away.
Got
and
it.
that made me feel great. And every single time that I worked with Prince, he brought me in as an artist. Mm-hmm. He had the band learning my songs.
That's it. Turned it around.
Yeah, he had the band learning my songs. And he said, Nick, I want to put together a band for you. And what you need is a drummer that locks with you and is attractive and could even take off his shirt and that the women want. We're going to put together a band for you. So he started sending me videos of different drummers, different guitar players from all around the world, from New Zealand, Australia, everywhere. Like, we need to put together the right band for you. Because he plans on having me as one of his opening acts.
Got it.
And this was, shortly after, about a year and a half later, he passed away. Mm-hmm. He was going to do the piano and a microphone tour, which he had done some of, and then he was going to do another big tour with the band. and I was going to be one of his opening acts. But I took all of the things that he told me about people that I need in my band, and that's what I start searching for. So when you mentioned my drummer, David.
Oh, yes.
He's that.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He's that.
And I heard along the way, well, maybe he's not so technical. Oh, yes, he is.
Oh, yeah.
That damn David is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
He's a
He
beast
is.
of all beasts. I put him up along any side, anyone.
I do too. And because he can play he can play funk authentically.
Yeah.
He can play rock authentically.
Yeah.
And if you want him to go into that fusion and jazz stuff, he did it. You know, like he can do all of those things, because one of his first gigs with me was at a drum gig where we were playing with his name is slipping. He played for Parliament Funkadelic, the drummer.
Tiki?
Dennis Chambers.
Oh, Dennis Chambers, my man. Yeah, Dennis Chambers.
He was, and it was like a drum off. Like my band did what we did, and then at the end they're like, "Hey, we want to bring all the drummers together and do a drum off." It was David's one of his first gigs with me. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm playing with Dennis Chambers."
That's right.
And he freaking killed it. I was like, I didn't even know he could do that. I didn't know David could do that. And so it's because of Prince that I really was seeking out somebody that could do all of these things.
Got it.
He's
Okay,
amazing.
one more thing before we get off Prince. Tell the fans who are Prince fans in the world something we wouldn't know. Something we would not know, but you saw it and you picked up on it because you were close to him.
I feel like probably all of the images and maybe interviews of Prince were of him being this man that's like, I'm bigger than life. I'm maybe better than, or, you know, something like that. And in person, he was not that guy. He didn't want to be put on a pedestal. That's the thing that everybody would think, okay, the way he performs and the way his interviews go, it's like, oh, he's on a pedestal. He knows he's Prince. But I said, oh my God, Prince, you're like the boss. Like you're this and that. And he'd be like, don't call me boss. Don't put me on a pedestal. And I don't think you should put any of your favorite artists, legends or not, on pedestals, because we're all human. We're just like you. The difference between me and you, Nick, is I have more money, I have more fame right now. But don't put me on a pedestal. You treat everybody as if they're human, because that's what we are. And that's how everyone should want to be treated.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was like, that shocked me, because he was so humble.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And he likes that. He likes that you're keeping that message from the heaven. Okay. You're going on a big tour this summer.
Yes.
Say anything you want to say so we understand. Nick is going to Europe and America, around the world, as a big old superstar that she is. Just go on and talk about it.
I'm going on tour this summer from, June through the end of August. So I'm going to be quite busy all summer. And then again, during the fall, I will be doing an opening for Carlos Santana. So we are a part of this festival called Guitar and Scene, where it's Carlos Santana and then one of my great friends, Orianthi, and Cindy Blackman Santana, which that's how I met Narada.
Yes.
Will be there as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very much awesome.
Come, get your tickets, check it out.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I've been asking in my most recent podcast, my different artists, Patty Austin, Preston Glass, and now you, do you feel that we love music as much as we used to?
Yes.
And why?
I do. Because humans are humans. We cannot survive without music. That's just what I feel. People may feel the opposite, because the sounds that we're hearing on the radio are not as, in my opinion, in lots of people's opinions, as great as the songs that you produced and songs that came before now. But people inherently want the good stuff. Like, we want to hear the good stuff. We want to feel the good stuff. It's just not presented to us as well as it was presented to you and to those generations. But yes, People love music. People want music. People want funk. People want rock. These forms of art, they're not dead. It's just not being fed to the masses. So they don't really get the opportunity to fall in love with them.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that. You mentioned the word funk, and I want to speak to our fans out there. Prince was asked, what is funk? He said, well, I can tell you how to describe funk. Maybe it wouldn't be funky. But in your case, is there any way you can describe the feeling when you're beating that bass? Because the world loves that feeling. Anything you want to say about that? Because you are now a spokesman for the funk.
Now you sound like Larry Graham.
Well,
oh, my gosh.
It's true. Go ahead, go.
Funk is... And I've heard this once, and maybe from Bootsy Collins, but it's making something out of nothing. Making something out of nothing. And I took that with me. When I get on stage, before that first note is hit, the drummer could be playing, the rest of the band could be playing. I'm not out on stage yet, but when I get out there and I hit that first one on the bass, band could be doing down, do da do da da do do da do da. But it's not until I hit that one, bam, kapunga kunga, tikadunga unga kunga. Funk is like the ugly face. It is the thing that makes you just go. Ah! It's like thunder. It's everything that you feel. Even if you don't have nothing, you put everything out on the floor and it's making something out of nothing. That's funk.
I love it. I love it. Is there a favorite country in Europe you love? Or not?
Oh my God. I no, because there are so many different things that I love about different countries.
Okay, tell something you love about a country in Europe that we would know because you've been there, you play it, and the people go crazy. Give us some love. Give us some love.
Okay, so to all my Spanish people, I love it in Spain because for some reason, every time I get up on stage and I tell y'all to sing something back to me, you sing it back and you sing it in the right key, and the whole audience is like... feels like they're so musical in
Yes,
Spain.
okay, lovely.
They're musical. Okay. The UK, y'all love live music. Like, I cannot stress that enough, and I really appreciate how they show up. In the UK, they show up. London, y'all show up to every single show that I do, and I love it. In Germany, they love the craziness. Mm-hmm. When I go wild, I know that I can give them my craziest rock, whatever, and they fall in love with it. So, I mean, there's so many different things that I love about different countries. Okay, Italy, I love the food. Like, gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything you want to say about America being the home of the funk, where it comes from? Anything you want to say about our country?
Yes. America has laid the foundation for music, especially Black Americans. This is where everything that's in me comes from. You know, this is my birthplace. This is the birthplace of funk. I feel like in America, we don't get to experience these types of music as much as I would love to, but this is where it came from. Mm-hmm. And so all my reverence goes to the people that came before me that made me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I was a little boy, James Brown,
Ooh.
Mr. James Brown, we call him the Godfather of Soul, but
yes.
When I was a little kid, there was a record that came out called Cold Sweat. And for drummers, like myself, 10 years old, if you could play Cold Sweat, my dad would stop and look at me differently. His friends who were drinking a little beer would stop and look at me differently because I could play Cold Sweat. That's how important the funk is.
Yes.
And you have to play it hard. Mm-hmm. You can't pussyfoot with it.
Right. You gotta dig in,
That's
as Prince would say. You gotta dig in.
That's right. But that is the backbone of the music we're still playing.
Yeah.
It never changed over.
Yeah.
We've been playing funk since I'm 10 years old.
and right, and like you said to me yesterday or the other day that a lot of the music that we are hearing, the masses may not know it, but underneath, for instance, like Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia album, Dua Lipa singing the way that she sings and what she does best. But underneath all of
That's
that,
right.
That's funk.
That's it.
That's disco.
That's it.
That's you're getting it.
My brother Quincy Jones was my mentor. He would say, outhouse bottom with a penthouse view. I was like, oh, okay. Outhouse bottom, nasty on the bottom with the penthouse view.
Ooh, I'm going to take that into my life.
That's it.
Taking that into my life.
That's it. Okay, upon closing our interview with the great Nik West, what's the message to your fans? Anything you want to say, the floor is yours.
the message to my fans. I appreciate y'all for being there since day one, for my Mohawk days, while I tried to figure it out, me just as a bass player that wasn't singing. I appreciate every single thing, every single show, every single stream, every single comment. As you see, I comment back to as many as I can, and I thank you, because without you guys, I could make the living that I make. And I really appreciate you, and I hope to give you more soon. I'm working with this legend right here so that we are going to blow the roof off musically and sonically for y'all.
I want to say to all the fans, I adore Nik West. Just sitting here with her right now, looking at her beautiful eyes. Her soul is so beautiful. She's full of light and fire and gumption and spirit. And she's just gorgeous. And I just love her. And to think of her, my spirit wrote like just 90 plus ideas for her. Because I'm just so excited by her stardom, what she's going to do on this planet, and what she's going to bring to us in the sense of just celebration of life. So I'm really, really crazy about you. And I want everyone to know that.
Oh, my God. Thank you.
All right, you.
Thank you.
Miss Nik West. Miss Nik West.
I love you.
Cool. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening to our All In podcast. If you enjoy the show, please follow, like, and subscribe on our socials. YouTube, Official Narada Instagram, Official Narada, one word. And All In with Narada Michael Walden on Apple Music, Spotify, and more. Thank you so very much.